Threads of the past, the discovery that changes everything. The wind over the Taklamakan Desert was like the breath of forgotten gods, dry, hot, and endlessly whispering. Beneath its dunes, buried under centuries of silence, Dr. Layla Aaron crouched beside an open tomb. Her flashlight beam trembled across carvings no one had seen in 2 millennia, patterns like woven silk spiraling into an infinity knot. Layla was an archaeologist by title, but in truth a seeker of ghosts. Her career had been built on exposing myths, not believing in them. Yet as the sand settled and her assistant brushed away the last grains of dust, she felt the unmistakable weight of destiny. Inside a cracked urn, wrapped in linen so fine it seemed immune to time, lay a single strand of silk, impossibly preserved, shimmering with faint iridescence under artificial light. At first she thought it was just a marvel of craftsmanship, but when her portable scanner began returning impossible results, a genetic sequence embedded in the silk itself, disbelief gave way to awe. The strand was alive with information, not DNA as nature would write it, but a deliberate, structured code, a message. In the camp that night, the desert stretched silent and infinite around her. Her laptop screen glowed in the darkness as she translated the sequence, a repeating pattern of binary echoes, mathematical signatures, and ancient numerology. Each symbol corresponded to trade records, latitude lines, dynastic names, and something else, a cipher that referenced a brotherhood of weavers, merchants who called themselves the hands that bind empires. Layla froze. The name appeared in apocryphal texts, but was long dismissed as legend. A secret society said to have brokered the fall and rise of empires through trade. The code seemed to confirm it. Then came the first sign that she wasn't alone. Footprints outside her tent, a shadow moving near the excavation crates. When she called out, only the desert wind answered. Days later, as she prepared to publish her findings, her mentor, Professor Yusuf Darvani, called her from the university in Tashkent. His voice trembled, not with excitement, but fear. "Layla," he whispered, "you must stop. The pattern you found, it's part of something far older. You don't understand what you've opened that night." His lab burned to the ground. The official report called it an electrical fire. Layla knew better. The silk strand she had sealed in a sample tube was missing. In its place was a fragment of blackened parchment, the edges still smoking. One word was written in precise, almost mechanical calligraphy: remember. As dawn broke over the dunes, Layla watched the sun rise through a haze of smoke and sand. The world around her seemed ancient and new all at once, like time had folded in on itself. For the first time in her life, she felt that history wasn't something to be studied. It was something to be warned about. She packed her notes, sealed her tent, and turned her eyes west, toward the cities that had once thrived on silk and secrets. The road ahead was calling again, as it always had. The Silk Road was waking up. Empire of Shadows, the bloodline of power. Venice shimmered like a dream trapped between centuries. Marble palaces fading into mist. Water lapping against foundations built on secrets. To most visitors, it was a city of art and gondolas. To Dr. Layla Aaron, it felt like an encrypted map. Every bridge, every worn mosaic, whispering of the empires that had traded their souls for power. She had come chasing a lead. A coded footnote in her mentor's burned notebook had mentioned Voss Holdings, Venice, a company with roots that stretched back to the age of the merchant republics. When she followed the trail through offshore archives and forgotten shipping records, one name kept resurfacing: Adrian Voss, the elusive billionaire who controlled half of Europe's logistics networks. Their first meeting wasn't by chance. At a private exhibition inside the Palazzo d'Oro, Layla stood before a relic, a bolt of silk woven with threads so fine they seemed to hum under the light. A voice behind her spoke, low and melodic. "You're looking at the only surviving fragment from the Yuan dynasty's imperial loom. Funny thing, it was discovered near the Taklamakan Desert." She turned. Adrian Voss was tall, sharply dressed, his presence at once magnetic and unreadable. His eyes lingered on her with an unsettling familiarity, as if he already knew why she was there. Over the next days, he became her guide through Venice's labyrinth, both its canals and its hidden history. They dined in candlelit libraries where he spoke of merchant princes who once controlled the world's flow of wealth. Yet beneath his charm, Layla sensed rehearsed precision. He asked too much about her discovery in the desert. Still, she couldn't deny the pull between them. It wasn't love yet. It was recognition, a mirror of ambition and loneliness. She wanted truth. He wanted control. And both understood that the two were often the same. One stormy evening, in Adrian's study overlooking the Grand Canal, Layla stumbled upon a ledger bound in crimson silk. The symbols inside matched the code she found in the desert, repeating motifs that formed a hidden language. Columns of numbers bled into modern banking records, tracing unbroken lines from caravans of gold to contemporary financial networks. She confronted Adrian. This isn't just history, is it? These ledgers link the Silk Road to today's markets. You've been protecting them. Adrian's expression faltered, not guilt, but a weary inevitability. Protecting, he said quietly. No, Layla. Preserving. You think empires rise and fall? They don't. They just adapt. He explained, or rather confessed, that his family had belonged for generations to the Weavers, a clandestine order descended from the original Silk Road merchants. Their creed was simple: to guide the flow of trade, knowledge, and invention, no matter the cost. Layla recoiled. You manipulate history, he smiled almost sadly. We maintain it. Outside, lightning cracked across the Venetian sky, reflecting off the flooded streets like veins of gold. In that instant, Layla realized the terrifying truth. The Weavers never disappeared. They had merely swapped caravans for corporations, scrolls for servers. That night, she left his palazzo and vanished into the rain-soaked alleyways. Behind her, the bells of St. Mark's tolled midnight, as if marking the death of innocence. In a rented room above the waterline, she pored over a stolen copy of the ledger, tracing its lineage through centuries. The same symbols that once sealed ancient trade agreements now encoded offshore accounts and encrypted data networks. Empires hadn't fallen, they had simply changed their currency. And as the storm calmed over the sleeping city, Layla felt something shift inside her, a mixture of fear, betrayal, and exhilaration. She had found her enemy, but part of her, dangerously, still wanted to understand him. Secrets of fire and ink, the stolen knowledge. The streets of Samarkand shimmered in the late afternoon sun, the domes of turquoise mosaics reflecting a brilliance that seemed older than time itself. Layla Aaron moved through the crowded bazaars with purpose, clutching a worn journal she had managed to smuggle from Venice, a ledger of coded knowledge that pulsed like a heartbeat across centuries. She had come seeking the truth of the Silk Road's hidden geniuses, the inventors and scholars whose brilliance had been erased by the hands of the Weavers. The ledger hinted at them, names obscured, innovations misattributed, wisdom buried beneath layers of secrecy. As she descended into the vaulted archive beneath a forgotten madrasa, she imagined the lives of those who had labored in secret. A monk in Dunhuang painstakingly copied manuscripts by candlelight. A metallurgist in Xi'an refined the formula for gunpowder, only to have his research stolen. A navigator on a Persian dhow plotted the stars for a journey that would never bear his name. In the flickering torchlight, Layla felt the weight of betrayal across centuries. She ran her fingers along the spines of coded manuscripts, her eyes widening as she discovered the unmistakable marks of her own ancestors. Keepers of Silk Road knowledge, guardians of secrets meant to bind civilizations together, not manipulate them. A vision surged in her mind. The scrolls, the ships, the caravans of silk, spices, and ideas, all orchestrated by hands that had grown invisible over time. She realized the depth of her family's role. They had been the truth keepers, the silent historians of civilization, and Adrian's ancestors. They had betrayed them, swapping guardianship for control, love for power. Her heart tightened as she recalled him. Adrian, charismatic, dangerous, almost impossibly compelling. The ledger revealed not just financial manipulation, but intellectual theft on a global scale. The romance she had felt, fragile and real, was entangled with centuries of treachery. Each stolen invention, each suppressed manuscript, each forged trade deal, it all bore his family's signature. She sank to the cold stone floor, the torchlight dancing across her face. History wasn't just rewriting itself. It had been rewritten before her eyes, and her ancestors had been erased from their own story. The ledger whispered a final, damning truth. Those who control knowledge control the world. Those who forget their keepers inherit their debts. Layla pressed her palms to the manuscripts, almost pleading with them. The betrayal cut deep, yet beneath the despair, a spark of resolve ignited. She would uncover the full truth, even if it meant defying Adrian, the Weavers, and centuries of manipulated history. Outside, the wind carried the scent of spices and dust, the heartbeat of a city that had witnessed empires rise and fall. And as Layla stepped into the bustling streets, manuscript clutched to her chest, she understood something chilling. The past was alive, and it was fighting back. Every step she took through Samarkand was both a journey into history and a march toward confrontation. The romance, the conspiracy, and her family's legacy intertwined, threatening to engulf her. But she would not falter, not yet. The stolen knowledge would see the light. The Plague Reborn, when history strikes back. Layla sat in a dimly lit hotel room in Zurich, the glow of her laptop casting shadows across her determined face. The coded ledger from Samarkand had revealed more than lost inventions. It hinted at a pattern, a strategy buried within the Silk Road's history. And now she realized the strategy had evolved. The Silk Road had never been just about trade. Centuries ago, merchants had carried disease along with silk and spices. The plague had been both a weapon and a tool, used to topple rivals, reset economies, and reshape societies. Layla traced the footprints across history, from the bubonic outbreaks that decimated Europe, to mysterious epidemics in the East. All of them aligned with the routes once traveled by the Weavers' caravans. And now in the digital age, history was repeating itself. Her screen was filled with alarming reports, a viral disinformation campaign spreading across continents, markets crashing as rumors became reality, and cyber attacks crippling critical infrastructure. The modern Silk Road, fiber optic cables, shipping networks, and global commerce, was vulnerable to a new kind of contagion. Layla leaned back in her chair, heart racing. The ledger had foretold this. The plague was no longer biological. It was information, fear, manipulation. She remembered Adrian's calm confession in Venice. We don't destroy empires. We guide them, and guiding them now meant chaos. Calculated, invisible, and almost impossible to stop. Outside, rain streaked the city's skyline, each drop echoing 1,000 forgotten epidemics. Layla's phone buzzed. It was a contact in Hong Kong, one of the few allies she trusted. Layla, the voice whispered urgently, cases are spiking. Entire sectors are shutting down. This isn't natural, it's coordinated. Whoever's behind this knows the pattern. Her stomach dropped. The pattern. The same roots, the same nodes of power that had once carried silk, gunpowder, and plague were now conduits for chaos in the 21st century. The realization was suffocating. The ancient weavers had not vanished. They had adapted, and the modern world, with all its technology and connectivity, was their playground. Layla's mind raced. The ledger contained the knowledge to decode the strategy, but acting on it meant drawing attention. She thought of Adrian, of his charm, of the betrayal that still gnawed at her. Could he be orchestrating this? Or was he a pawn in a game that had spanned centuries? She closed her eyes and pictured the caravans winding across deserts, rivers, and mountains, unknowingly carrying the seeds of death alongside commerce. And then she saw the modern equivalent. Servers, satellites, shipping lanes, data streams, all vulnerable, all entwined in the same ancient design. Layla knew one thing for certain: the Silk Road never truly ended. It had simply evolved. And if she didn't act quickly, the invisible plague would spread beyond control. Her pulse quickened as she opened the ledger again, tracing the ancient code against the patterns of modern chaos. History was alive. It was sending a warning, And this time, there was no room for mistakes. The Weavers were back, and the world unknowingly was their next empire. The New Silk Road, the ultimate twist. The night air over Silicon Valley was unnaturally still, the glow of data centers reflecting off the mist like a network of veins pulsing with secrets. Layla Aaron stood at the edge of a rooftop, manuscript clutched in one hand, laptop glowing with the patterns she had traced for months. Every route, every coded line of the ledger converged here, a digital Silk Road spanning the globe. She wasn't alone. Adrian Voss appeared from the shadows, his face calm but unreadable, as though he had been waiting for this moment through centuries of history. "You made it," he said softly. "I wondered if you'd see it all the way through." Layla's jaw tightened. "I know your family's plan. The Weavers are building a global empire of information. Humanity reduced to data points, manipulated and harvested. You're repeating the same pattern you've used for centuries." Adrian's eyes flickered, not with guilt, but with inevitability. "The pattern isn't new. The Silk Road never stopped. It adapted. Trade, knowledge, disease. It's all part of the same design. And now with technology, we control more than ever." The rooftop lights glinted off the strands of silk she had smuggled from Taklamakan. The code embedded in them pulsed faintly, in sync with the digital networks below. A bridge between past and present. Layla realized with a shock that this was bigger than Adrian, bigger than the Weavers. The Silk Road itself had shaped reality, bending commerce, knowledge, and even time to its will. "You don't understand," she whispered. "This isn't just history repeating, it's looping. It's all connected." Adrian's lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. "You're beginning to see. I'm not your enemy, Layla. Not really. I'm your descendant." The words hit like a thunderclap. Adrian stepped closer, and suddenly her past discoveries, her ancestral legacy, the betrayals of centuries, and the ledger's warnings aligned in a horrifying realization. The Silk Road had shaped time itself. He continued almost gently. "The patterns you've been tracing, they echo into the future. Without intervention, history will loop endlessly. The Weavers, the plagues, the empires, even your choices tonight, they've already happened." Layla's mind spun. If she destroyed the code embedded in the silk, she could reset the timeline, erase centuries of manipulation, and break the cycle. But at what cost? Adrian, as her descendant, would cease to exist, and with him, the knowledge and skills she needed to prevent global collapse. The city below pulsed with the digital lifeblood of commerce, data, and secrets. Every choice seemed impossibly consequential. Time itself felt fragile, like a silk thread stretched across eternity. With trembling hands, she placed the manuscript on the rooftop edge, poised to let it fall. But her heart betrayed her. She hesitated, knowing that to destroy it was to erase not just the past, but part of herself. Adrian reached out, not to stop her, but to offer understanding. "History isn't just a chain of events, Layla. It's a web. You can sever it, or you can become part of it." Layla's eyes hardened. She made her decision. She would embrace the Silk Road's legacy, but not blindly. She would become the new Weaver, guiding knowledge and power with the wisdom she had inherited, forging a future free from the manipulations of the past. As dawn broke over Silicon Valley, data streams and sunlight intertwined. The Silk Road had not ended. It had evolved, and its new guardian stood ready. Layla Aaron, historian, seeker, and now Weaver, turned to Adrian. Together they watched the world awaken. A world poised on the edge of history, knowledge, and the infinite possibilities of time. The past had survived. The future was theirs to shape.